I've spent decades watching older people wreck 40 years of careful saving in the last 10 years of their life. Most people think the danger in retirement is running out of money too slowly, so they chase bigger returns to catch up. They are wrong. The real danger is running out of income at the exact moment you can no longer earn it back. During my years studying how the great investors think about risk, in the tradition of men like Charlie Munger, I learned that safety is not boring. It is the whole game once you pass 65. Stay with me because by the end of this, you will know 5 specific companies that have paid a rising dividend every single year for more than half a century through wars, crashes, and panics. And you will know exactly how much of your money should go where this week, not next year. Let me tell you about a man I once studied. I will call him Frank. Frank retired at 66 with $400,000. He had done everything right for 30 years, and then in his first year of retirement, he read an article about a hot technology stock everyone was buying. He moved 60% of his savings into it. The stock doubled in 4 months. Frank felt like a genius. Then it fell 70% in the next 4 months because the company had no profits, only a story. Frank lost close to $140,000 in under a year. He is 79 now. He never fully recovered that money because at his age there was no more working career left to rebuild it with. That is the cost of chasing excitement instead of income.
Now picture a woman I once studied. I will call her Janet. Janet retired the same year as Frank with the same $400,000. She did something almost embarrassingly plain. She put her money into 5 companies that had raised their dividend every year for at least 50 straight years. She did not check the price every day. She did not chase headlines. 10 years later, her account had not just held its value, it had grown, and her yearly income from dividends alone had climbed by roughly 60% without her selling a single share. Frank tried to get rich fast and got poor slowly. Janet tried to get paid steadily and got rich slowly. That is the whole lesson of this video in one sentence, and everything else is just the arithmetic behind it. Here is the new mental model I want you to carry for the rest of your life. Stop asking, what stock will go up the most? Start asking, what company will still be sending me a check in 15 years, and will that check be bigger than the one before it? A rising stock price can vanish in a single afternoon. A dividend that has been raised every year since before the moon landing does not vanish that easily, because it is backed by decades of proof, not a story on a screen. This single shift from chasing price to trusting proof is the idea that runs through everything I am about to walk you through. In the tradition Charlie Munger taught, the first rule is always the same: do not lose the money you cannot afford to lose. Munger built his reputation on studying decades of business results before ever touching a stock, and that same patience is exactly what protects a person after 65. I once read about a couple, I will call them the Millers, who used this exact model in their 70s. They were not wealthy, they had roughly $250,000 saved. They spread it across 5 dividend-paying companies with the longest raise streaks they could find, and within 8 years, their income from those dividends alone covered nearly a third of their monthly bills, without touching the original savings at all. That is the numeric framework we are about to walk through together. 5 companies, each with over 50 straight years of raising, not just paying, their dividend. The first company on this list is Coca-Cola. Announce it plainly, this is a company that has raised its dividend every single year for more than 60 straight years. Explain why this one specifically matters, because a company does not raise a payment to shareholders for 60 straight years by accident. It does it because the business produces real cash, year after year, in good times and bad, whether the economy is booming or crashing. The first objection you will hear is, soda is old news, nobody drinks that much soda anymore. Kill that objection with the plain fact that the company owns hundreds of drink brands worldwide: water, juice, tea, coffee, sold in nearly every country on earth, so the business does not depend on any one product staying popular. The second objection is, the stock barely moves, what is the point? Kill that objection by remembering we are not here to gamble on price, we are here to collect rising income. The third objection is, isn't this too simple to matter? Kill that one directly. Simple and boring is exactly why it has survived 60 years of change while flashier companies disappeared. Here is the arithmetic. Janet put $50,000 into this one company alone. Frank, in an alternate version of his story, put $50,000 into a trendy growth stock with no dividend at all for the same 10 years. Janet's $50,000 grew, and more importantly, began paying her more cash every single year, because the payment itself kept rising even in years the stock price sat still. Frank's $50,000 depended entirely on someone else being willing to pay a higher price later, and when that hope failed, he had nothing coming in at all. What that number means for your life is simple. One of these positions pays you to wait, and the other one begs the market to be kind to it. So step 1 in your life this week is to write down how much of your savings currently earns you zero rising income, and mark that number down, because that is the amount currently sitting exposed to hope instead of proof. The second company on this list is Procter & Gamble. Announce it, this is a company that has raised its dividend for well over 60 straight years, longer than most of us have been alive. Explain why this one matters. It makes the products people buy without thinking: soap, toothpaste, diapers, razors, the boring stuff nobody skips buying even when money gets tight. The first objection is, these are cheap products. How much profit can there really be? Kill it with the fact that billions of people buy these same brands every single month for their entire lives, and that repeat buying, multiplied across the whole world, adds up to enormous steady cash. The second objection is, what if a cheaper store brand takes over? Kill it by pointing out this exact fear has existed for 50 years, and the company has kept raising its dividend through every single one of those years anyway. The third objection is, this feels too old-fashioned to be smart investing. Kill it plainly. Old-fashioned and dependable are often the same word wearing two different coats. Here is the arithmetic. A man I once studied put $20,000 into this company 15 years before retiring and left it alone. A neighbor of his put the same $20,000 into a stock tied to a single hot trend that same year. 15 years later, the first man's $20,000 had both grown in value and was now paying him more than double the yearly cash it paid when he started, all without him selling anything. The neighbor's stock had gone through 2 total collapses in that same window, once losing nearly everything, and by the time he retired, his original stock was still trying to recover from the second crash. What that means for your life is this: rising income compounds quietly while price bets swing wildly, and quiet compounding is what actually pays your bills at 78. So step 2 in your life this week is to check whether any of your current holdings have a real, provable history of raising payments for multiple decades, not just a hopeful story about the future. The third company on this list is Johnson & Johnson. Announce it, this is a company that has raised its dividend for more than 60 straight years as well, through recessions, health scares, and lawsuits that would have sunk a weaker business. Explain why this one matters. Healthcare spending does not stop when the economy slows down. People still need medicine and basic health products, no matter what is happening in the stock market. The first objection is, isn't this company facing legal trouble that could hurt it? Kill it honestly. Legal trouble is real and can hurt a stock price in the short term, but a company with this much cash flow and this many product lines has weathered legal storms before without breaking its decades-long streak of paying more each year. The second objection is, healthcare companies are complicated. How would an ordinary person understand what they're buying? Kill it simply. You do not need to understand every drug in the pipeline. You need to understand that people will keep needing bandages, basic medicine, and health products for the rest of human history. The third objection is, what if a big lawsuit wipes out the dividend entirely? Kill it with the plain truth. That has been the fear for over a decade already, and the dividend has still risen every single year regardless. Here is the arithmetic. A retired schoolteacher I once read about put $30,000 into this company at age 68. A friend of hers put the same $30,000 into a small biotech company chasing a single miracle drug approval. 8 years later, the schoolteacher's dividend income alone had grown enough to cover roughly a tenth of her total retirement expenses without selling a single share, while her friend's biotech stock lost most of its value the year the drug failed its final trial and never recovered. What that number means for your life is this: betting on one outcome is a coin flip. Owning a company with 60 years of proof is not a coin flip, it is a pattern. So step 3 in your life this week is to ask yourself honestly whether any single holding you own depends on one event going your way, because that is exactly the kind of position that ruined Frank. The fourth company on this list is Colgate-Palmolive. Announce it, another company with well over 60 straight years of rising dividends, built almost entirely on products so ordinary you probably have 3 of them in your bathroom right now. Explain why this one matters. The entire business runs on repeat purchases of low-cost daily items sold across more than 200 countries, which means the company is not betting its future on any single country's economy or any single trend staying popular. The first objection is, this seems too small and boring to matter in a real portfolio. Kill it plainly. Boring is not the opposite of profitable. Boring is often the disguise profitable wears so nobody bothers to compete with it. The second objection is, what happens if people simply switch to cheaper alternatives during hard times? Kill it with history. This exact fear repeats every recession, and the company has still raised its payment every single year through every one of those recessions. The third objection is, isn't the growth too slow to matter? Kill it by reminding the viewer that we are not chasing growth here, we are collecting proof, and proof does not need to be exciting to be valuable. Here is the arithmetic. Two brothers I once read about each inherited $25,000 from their mother. One brother put his into this company and left it completely untouched for 12 years. The other brother moved his in and out of different trending stocks 4 separate times over those same 12 years, chasing whichever stock was in the news. The first brother's $25,000 had grown steadily and was paying him meaningfully more each year by the end. The second brother, after trading fees, missed rallies, and 2 bad exits, ended up with barely more money than he started with, and no rising income at all. What that number means for your life is this: doing nothing with a proven company often beats doing something clever with an unproven one. So step 4 in your life this week, if you're still trading in and out of positions after 65, is to ask yourself honestly what all that activity has actually earned you compared to simply holding something proven. The fifth company on this list is PepsiCo. Announce it: over 50 straight years of rising dividends, built on snacks and drinks sold in nearly every corner store on the planet. Explain why this one matters. Unlike a single product company, this business owns dozens of separate brands across food and drink, so a decline in any one product line does not sink the whole ship. The first objection is, isn't snack food a shrinking category as people eat healthier? Kill it plainly. The company has spent decades quietly buying and building healthier product lines specifically because it saw that shift coming years before most people noticed it. The second objection is, doesn't rising competition eventually catch up to a giant like this? Kill it with the plain fact that this exact worry has been repeated every decade for 50 years, and the dividend has risen every single one of those years anyway. The third objection is, 5 companies feels like too few. Isn't that risky? Kill it honestly. 5 proven companies across different parts of daily life is not reckless. It is simply not the same as owning one single bet, and for many retirees, it is paired with other holdings, not meant to be the entire plan alone. Here is the arithmetic. A retired mechanic I once studied split $40,000 evenly across these 5 kinds of companies at age 67. A retired coworker of his instead kept the full $40,000 in cash sitting in a regular bank account, earning almost nothing, afraid to touch the stock market at all. 10 years later, the mechanic's yearly dividend income alone was worth more than double what his coworker's entire cash pile was earning in interest each year, even before counting any growth in the value of the shares themselves. What that number means for your life is this: doing nothing out of fear is not actually safe. It simply trades one risk, the risk of loss, for a quieter risk, the risk of your money slowly losing power to inflation while it sits still. So step 5 in your life this week is to check what your own cash savings are actually earning you right now, and compare that honestly to what proven, rising dividend income could be earning you instead. Now let me talk about the moment almost everyone breaks. It never happens on the calm days. It happens on the one bad week when the news says everything is collapsing, when a headline uses the word crash, and your account value drops for a few days in a row. That is the exact moment the mind panics and wants to sell everything to feel safe again. I have watched retirees sell a 50-year dividend company at the worst possible moment out of pure fear, lock in a real loss, and then watch that same company keep raising its dividend the very next year without them, because they were no longer in the room. Willpower alone does not survive that moment. Almost nobody's willpower does, no matter how disciplined they think they are on a calm Tuesday afternoon. The fix is not more willpower. The fix is a structure that does not depend on your emotions at all. Set up automatic reinvestment of every dividend before you ever feel the temptation to touch it. Write down on paper today, while you are calm, the exact list of companies you own and the exact number of years each one has raised its dividend, and keep that paper somewhere you will see it during the panic. When the scary week comes, and it will come, you do not ask yourself how you feel. You simply read the list and remember that these companies have survived every single panic before this one. A default that survives fear beats a promise that depends on fear never showing up. This is the part where most videos about saving money lose people, because saying save more or invest wisely is easy to say and almost impossible to do without a structure standing between you and your own fear. The whole idea underneath everything I have told you today is this: chase proof, not price. Companies that have raised their payment to you for 50 or 60 straight years are not exciting, and that is exactly the point, because excitement is what took Frank's money and proof is what kept Janet's. This is not really about money at all when you get down to it. It is about whether your life after 65 is spent worrying about a number on a screen or spent living, because you already built something that pays you regardless of what the screen says today. Replace the word money with life for a moment, and you will see it clearly. This is not about growing your money the fastest. It is about protecting your life from the kind of fear that makes old age feel smaller than it should. Dignity in retirement does not come from a lucky stock pick. It comes from proof you can stand on, year after year, whether the world is calm or in chaos. You spent the next few minutes of your life here, and that matters, because time is the one thing none of us gets back, especially after 65. The next video walks through exactly how to check whether a company's dividend history is real proof or just a lucky streak, and it builds on precisely what we just covered here. Hit subscribe not because this channel needs the number, but because the work of thinking clearly about money is just beginning, and a discipline like this one needs people around it to survive the years when it gets hard. This is not content. This is a discipline, and disciplines require community to survive. Proof outlives panic.